Hey everybody, we're back again with another Pi video. One of the things that I was looking at is there anything that you can do about installing an OS that actually runs fairly well, but it isn't the Armbian OS. So I came across another OS that claims to be pretty lightweight and capable of doing something with a Raspberry Pi 3, because let's face it, a Raspberry Pi 3 is like a Windows XP system. It can do things, but not modern things. Put it that way. So this guy allows you, this particular OS allows you to get a somewhat functional operating system up and running that isn't Armbian, and at the same time it seems to perform a little bit better, in my opinion. Everything seems to run a little bit faster. But I did try a Firefox browser in it, and I'll be honest with you, it just can't cut it. So this little guy is not going to be able to handle the internet or YouTube or anything like that. It just isn't. It's just that simple. But there you go. That's what we're going to be using. I've installed Armbian, an ARM-based operating system on this computer. So let me enter my password. So yeah, it takes a little time to get started, but not too bad. Not probably much longer than the Armbian OS does to get going. It doesn't have a temperature monitor that I know of, but I'm sure there's something out there that I could download if I figure it out. I'm not that familiar with Linux, just some basics. So, but this is definitely one of those operating systems that if you know the terminal, you're going to be far better off, because it just kind of requires that level of knowledge to get things really rocking with this thing. But here you go. Here's your, your menu and, bar that is so common among all kind of like window-like systems. So, you got your standard, restarting, shutting down kind of stuff. We got, we got a volume control, my Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, date. Obviously sets the date from the internet. It has this little application thingy. It gives you, a menu, or of course, you can right-click and you got the menu here. Right-click on the desktop and you've got the menu going. So that's pretty good. So let's go into System, and we can see right away, we can tell it's an XFCE type version of the Linux distribution, which is good for these kind of low spec machines. So when we open up the terminal, it pops open, and it's pretty peppy. That was pretty fast, right? Now let's try, terminal shouldn't be that hard to open, but the performance I was getting from some of my other systems, yeah. So let's go with their editor, mousepad editor, and there you go, pops open pretty quick. What I like about this editor is it does have spell check, right? So when you're typing things in, let's say we typed in misspelt spelling, right? Just right click it, get a suggestion, and I meant to type spelling, right? So that's kind of nice. It has some basic spell checking in the actual editor. Always like that about these fairly recent Linux systems. It has the old style sort of. I always think of it as a Mac roll-up thing to kind of so you can see what's going on behind your app without closing it, without minimizing it, which can be kind of handy. Yeah, so no problem opening up a few apps. So let's try what seemed to take forever to open. Let's try LibreOffice Writer. Okay, so that right away, that's a nice response because I actually saw something jump to the screen as soon as I hit it, and we're already getting a draw on the interface, and we're almost up and running here. That's acceptable. So I'm liking that right off the bat, that everything sort of seems to respond a lot quicker than the last time we opened this in just, I believe it was Bookworm of the Armbian OS, or Raspberry Pi OS, I guess they're calling it now. So yeah, quite a bit faster, just popping things open. Like I said, the web browser it's too much for this thing. So you just can't do much with it. But yeah, this does just fine. Just fine. So it's quite functional. You can get things rolling, right? You can get things working in it. And it doesn't seem like just because you have a couple things open, it isn't kind of completely bogged down like I was experiencing with some of the other distributions I tried. So let's just open up Calc. So it's not uncommon to have a word processor and your spreadsheet going, right? Like that's pretty kind of a regular thing to do. So no problem, you got it operational, and it's responding as you'd expect. Let's see here. And let's sum that up. And yeah, there you go. So very easy. Very similar to Excel in a lot of ways. So yeah, gotta love that. So we got a whole bunch of things open, but it doesn't seem to be kind of getting too bogged down. Let's take a look at our task manager here, and yeah, well, we're still about half of our memory. No real draw on the CPU at all right now with all this stuff open. Now, like I said, if I had a browser open, this thing would probably just be locked up and doing nothing. So yeah, but I like some of the features of this OS in terms of how it works, and it's like seems mature. Like it seems like somebody has taken some time and kind of got certain aspects of it working well. So you can kind of change the appearance of the light and dark. There's all kinds of things you can do, but what I like about it is you're doing it all from an interface like this, and that's always appreciated. So you can, you know, do your Bluetooth stuff, you know, the kind of stuff that you want to set up on one of these systems. All the different things you can do. I'm not going to get into it, but you can see that like the interface isn't terrible and it's functional. And like I said, the web browser doesn't work. I'm not going to use mail or anything like that. So these are going to be just like, you know, sitting there doing nothing. But everything else, tested a few different things, and you know, they all seem to be working fine. So it's sort of that sweet spot for these kinds of systems, what they've pre-installed in the interface. And my experience with it is I could actually, if I really wanted to use this for writing something up or doing something on it, you know, I can, right? Like that's awesome. So I always think that's great when you can actually do things with a system and it actually, like, it's functional, right? So anyway, that's about all I was going to show you today. Okay, well, I don't know what this is about. This is Emacs. Hard to use Emacs with one hand, let me tell you. It's very much Emacs is very much a keyboard-driven piece of software. Anyway, guys, so there you go. That was just a quick demo. I think this would be usable for some basic productivity. And of course, you know, if you know what you're doing with a terminal, you can get all kinds of stuff going. You can, you know, you can install stuff from the terminal if you know what you're looking for. One of the just as a side note, one of the things I always install on a Linux system, but I also have it on my Windows systems too, because it runs on both. It's a piece of software called, I think it's under accessories, yeah. It's called Zim Desktop Wiki. If you have a need to create like sort of a flat file system, where, you know, it's sort of like almost like a web page that are linked to other web pages, like Wikipedia, you know, that's the best way of describing it. You can make some notes, and then you can make links, and it will take you to another page, and you can go back and forth, you know, and you can basically create yourself all kinds of notes and stuff that are interlinked for whatever purposes you might have. So it's a great like note-taking system, you could say, and it has a journal feature, so you can pick the journal, pick the date, and you can start creating like a journal with it if you need to track something on a daily basis, and then you want to look back at it and see what you've tracked. It's just I find it's just a great, really simple piece of software that you can run on everything. You know, where it runs on Windows, runs on, I think there's a port of it for Mac. You can run it obviously on Linux. So it's kind of a universal sort of application, but yet it's super easy to use, and it actually creates a decent little wiki that can include pictures and everything. And like I said, this thing just isn't really eating up the CPU demand at all. So I'm kind of liking this Armbian. So this will be the other alternative operating system for one of my Pis, and then my other Pi will just have the standard Raspbian Bullseye installed to it, because it runs okay on that other Pi. But if you got two Pis and you got two cards, why not put something different on it? That's the way I see it. So anyway, guys, that's another Pi video. What can you do with a Pi 3, an outdated old Pi 3? Not a lot usually, but you know, I've been fooling around with it, and I like that kind of stuff. So one of the things I really like about this too is the I/O pins. This whole bank of I/O and a camera, you know, connector, screen connector. It's like a great little, you know, credit card size computer. It has all your basics, you know. It has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. It has, you know, a Ethernet connection. It's got all the basics you need to kind of have a computer going, but it's so small and it's so funky. And if you're into hacking, like, you can put Kali Linux on this thing and you've got yourself quite a little hacking machine. I'm not really big on hacking, but you know, if you are into that kind of stuff, I know that was what basically everyone was doing with the Pi 3 back in the day, is putting Kali Linux on it. I thought about doing that, but then I don't really care to try and learn about hacking people's networks and crap like that. It's not my deal. Got better things to do. I'm just curious how it would run with Kali Linux on it, and what you could do with Kali Linux aside from hacking. But probably better off just keeping what I got here with this Armbian, because it kind of seems to have all the things I like to do on a little Pi. You know, other than I'd like it to be able to access the internet. That's the one weakness, but what do you do? It's a Pi 3. I got it from the thrift store for next to nothing, and I know why it ended up at the thrift store, because once you play around with these things for a bit, you start to realize they're no replacement for a real computer. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's going to be my video. Hope you're enjoying these Pi videos. It's just something I've been doing because I've had a little extra time, and I wanted to really give these Pis a good run and see just really what they can do in 2025. I think that's going to be the last one for now, and I'll